Good morning, guys. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Elizabeth, and today I'm going to be giving my thoughts, opinion, and overall trip review on the South Africa expedition trip with EF Ultimate Break. This is a fairly new trip. When I went in March of 2024, we're only the third group to have gone on this trip, like third EF group. And so there are a few little kinks, but I think like over time, this was a really good trip. This was my 10th EF trip, so I feel like I have been on a good variety of trips. I've seen a lot of different types of trips, different trip vibes. I've been on like the Patagonia hiking trip. I've been on the Australia, New Zealand, like super adventurous trip, and I've also been on the highlights of Eastern Europe, like very heavy history tour. So I've kind of seen a lot of everything, and I have to say that I absolutely loved this trip. Even with it being new, I think if I would like give anyone who hasn't traveled with EF a recommendation for which trip to go on, this would probably be my number one recommendation. It was a really great trip. I had a really good time. I would say favorite overall would probably be Australia and New Zealand. I also loved like the food and experience visiting like Italy for the Ultimate Italy trip, but this I feel like was not as long as either of those. Australia and New Zealand is like 21 days, Ultimate Italy is 17 days, and this was 11 days. And with like the travel days, like we didn't leave on the first day until 7 p.m. at night our time, and so with the traveling and stuff, it was really only like 10 days, so fewer days to take off work. It was cheaper because of that, and I think the experience and everything was like awesome. The things we got to see were so cool, and I think overall with all of that, like in comparison to everything else, this would be a trip that I would absolutely 100% recommend. I loved every moment. I thought it was wonderful. It had mountains, it had beaches, it had animals, it had like everything that I could ever want. So overall review, that's like just the basics of it. Jumping into things, usually when I do EF trips, you stay in a hotel for like one night or 2 nights, and you were like up and moving constantly. It was so nice to get there and stay, I think 4 nights in the Cape Town hotel. It was wonderful to like settle in, to get like adjusted, and it was just great. I loved it, not having to worry about like moving so fast all at the beginning of the trip. It was nice to just kind of settle in and relax. I loved that. The first full day, our Robben Island excursion was canceled, so I can't say if this was worth it or not. When we booked the trip, they were charging $60 for this. I don't think it's ever run with an EF group. I think all the ones before us, it was also canceled, and for us it wasn't canceled because of the weather with the boat. It was because the buses on the island were like breaking or something, and they canceled like the whole week we were there, like tours going to the island. So in my opinion, like I didn't really want to see it anyway, but like if you were on the fence about booking it, I would say don't do it, and then you can like plan to spend extra time in Cape Town without like worrying about what happens if it gets canceled, and you can just like make your own plans for the day. If you want to see like how the day played out and like when we were going to be there and like timelines of everything, I did have a daily vlog of this day. We were supposed to go in the afternoon. I will link it up here if you missed it. But what we did instead, our tour director extended our city tour. We went around, we had more time to like relax, take pictures at our stops, and just like see more things. And then we had free time down at the waterfront where we could like go shopping and explore, go out to eat whatever we wanted before our welcome dinner. So like I can't say if you really have a good time at Robben Island, but for peace of mind for me, we had photos that night. I wish I just wouldn't have signed up, and then I didn't have to think about logistics of getting around for it only to be canceled later, if that makes sense. Second excursion was the wine tour. When we booked, they were charging $95 for this. You got to go to 2 wineries. At the first place, you do get like, it was a long tour. It was an all-day type of thing. If you're not a wine lover, or if you want to do like something specific in Cape Town that you're like worried about time, you could probably skip this. I enjoyed it. I had fun. You could go around the first winery and like take pictures and relax. It was like good group bonding. At the first place, you got like cheeses and breads and stuff, and then you got 6 different samples of wine. They weren't super heavy pours or anything, but that was okay. Then you got your lunch, and with your lunch you got a full glass of whatever wine was your favorite. You did have the option to buy wine if you wanted. It was like so cheap, like $5 or $6 US per bottle, but shipping to get it back to the States was like $250. So at the second place, they matched the wine with the cheese, so you would like do like pairings that way. But I think our experience was like a little bit worse at the second place, just because we were sitting outside and the sun had come out, and we were just sitting in the sun just like baking, and the cheese was melting on our plates, and it just like wasn't as fun. But like that was totally like weather dependent and stuff. Yeah, so it was $5 to $30 US per bottle or case of 6, depending on which you wanted, what kind of wine, but shipping was $238 US for a case to get it back. For lunch, I had duck that day. It's in the video. I show it. You also get a dessert, and then people also could get like steak or vegetarian options too. We went in March. Cape Town was colder and windier. Like we were told that going in. I was fine with everything I packed. I will link my packing video up here if you missed it. But I would for sure bring like a little jacket. In March it is their like end of summertime-ish, but with the wind it still does get a little bit chilly, especially when you go up to Table Mountain. The wind up there is crazy, so for sure bring a jacket for that. How were flights? Our flights to get there were awful. We flew from Cincinnati to Paris, which was like 8 hours, and then we had a layover in Paris, and then flew straight from Paris to Cape Town, which was I think 12 hours, and we didn't land in Cape Town until 10:30 at night, and then we had to wait for one other flight who was getting there at like 10:45, and then we didn't get to our hotel until a little after midnight. So flights were rough. Everyone else in our group got there at like 4 or 5 o'clock. This would be a trip I would say if you could book your own flights, book your own flights for this one. It was nice though because we didn't really have to deal with jet lag because we landed and went straight to bed and then got all of our sleep and woke up and we were like great to go for the whole trip. But flights were rough. On the way back we flew from Johannesburg to Paris to JFK to CVG, which was rough because we could have just made that 2 flights instead of 3, but it's fine. How safe did I feel in Cape Town? Cape Town, I felt like pretty safe. It wasn't like I felt unsafe. I mean, every time I travel, I feel a little bit of unsafety because it's not familiar and you don't know like all the people around you, but I felt pretty safe in Cape Town. I wasn't like scared to be there. Johannesburg was a little bit of a different story. We were told going in that it wasn't super safe. My dad has like been there before, and so he told us it wasn't super safe and like stories of him being there, so I was a little nervous going in. However, when we did get to Johannesburg, I talked about this in the daily vlog that I had. I will link it up here, but basically what happened was luggage was stolen off of our tour bus. If you want more information, you can watch the vlog because I talk about this in the vlog of it getting stolen, and then the next morning like the overall story what happened, so I won't repeat myself. But basically luggage was stolen. Our group didn't feel super safe because that was like literally within the first like 45 minutes of like being in Johannesburg. I think that dramatically affected our mindset for it. Even though we stayed in one of the nicest areas, it was fine. We didn't have any other incidents. That was the fault of our bus driver for not locking the bins under the bus that held the luggage, but I would say that that really hindered the experience. Other than that though, like just like walking around, like we Ubered to like a shopping center and stuff, and we didn't really leave the hotel too terribly much, but it wasn't like I felt unsafe there. If that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have felt unsafe. I feel like I have felt unsafe like walking around in New York City, like Times Square. You feel unsafe that like, you know, someone's going to pickpocket you, or just being in America in general, like going to a concert or something, there's always that little bit of like unsafe in the back of your mind. Like what if someone just like bringing a gun in here, and like, you know, that level of unsafety. The unsafety that I felt in Johannesburg was never anything like that. It was more like someone would steal my stuff, but they wouldn't hurt me. Like they would just want my stuff, and if I would give them my stuff, like I would be fine. If that makes sense. Like that's the mindset. Like in America, I'm worried about one level of safety. In Johannesburg, I was worried about like, you know, if you want my stuff, you can take my stuff, but it was never like a problem like that. All right. Anyway, do you need to avoid black and blue? So the EF guide says avoid black and blue on your safari game drives because like the TT flies or whatever are going to be attracted to you and like bite you or whatever. That was not a thing. Our tour director was like, no, he wants EF to get rid of it. EF won't get rid of it. Do not worry about avoiding black and blue. On the second cave drive, I wore a black sweatshirt, so we're good. He said that used to be a thing here, but it's not anymore, and you don't have to worry about it. From my packing video, I packed everything in that video except for I swapped one blue Halara dress for like a long maxi white dress that I wore for the wine tour. That was a good substitution in my opinion. I didn't feel like it was super hot in Cape Town to wear a like Halara dress, and I got to wear that white like maxi dress to the wine tour anyway, and it was like a better fit for it, so that was good. Other than that, I truly did pack too much. I think I walked away with like a couple different shirts, and like I know I packed shorts, I didn't wear them at all. I just packed too much, and I only packed in a carry-on, and then David and I shared a personal item on the plane, so I packed too much, but that's okay. I would say when you get cash, get it before you go so that you don't have to worry about finding an ATM, and then request, like I walk into my bank and I say I would like to get foreign currency, and then they take money out of my bank and like get it in the foreign currency. I don't have to pay any like fees or anything for them to do that, and then I can request smaller bills. Smaller bills are so important because that's what you use for tips. There was an ATM at our hotel in Cape Town, but the ATM only gave out $200 bills, and like that was too much to be tipping, and that's why you needed the cash. I have another thing here about the bags getting stolen in Johannesburg. Our tour director has been working for 22 years, and he said this is the first time something like that has ever happened. Our like local guide was able to find the bags and stuff that night. I talked about all this in the daily vlog, but what happened like from EF's logistical perspective is that bus driver and the bus were like replaced the next day, and we got someone new and a new bus. Just for safety tips, I would say for sure keep all of your money separated. Don't have like all of your money in your checked bag. Have some on you. I always have a fanny pack with money in it. I always have like a little tiny backpack with money in it. I separate it out so that if something would happen to one bag, I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, everything is gone, you know? I like wearing a fanny pack when I travel just because I have stuff physically on me, and if I have a shirt, I can like cover it and no one knows. Like someone could be like, oh, I want your backpack, give me your backpack. And this is like not just Johannesburg or South Africa. This could be like literally anywhere, and they could be like, I want your backpack, give it to me, and I'd be like, oh, here you go. And then all my money is in my fanny pack, so it's not that big of a deal. We do use air tags now. We really like them, but when the girl in our group, her bag was stolen, she had an air tag, but it didn't work since air tags work by bouncing off like iPhone signals, and there weren't enough iPhones in the area to get like a read on that or a location for that. Do you regret not bringing your big professional camera for the game drives? Nope, not at all. I use this little vlogging camera that I have. It has a like little tiny zoom lens on it, and the max it goes is 70 millimeters. Would I have liked to zoom a little bit more in on the animals? Sure. Do I regret not bringing anything different? Nope. I'm a full-time photographer. I made my hobby into my career, and I did not want to work on vacation. I did not want to be in charge of taking photos of animals and giving them to other people. I can look with my eyeballs and see, and most animals came right up to the vehicle and they were on the side of the road anyway. But I like didn't need to zoom far. Other people in our group brought their cameras and they loved it, but for me personally, I don't want to work on vacation, so I left it at home, and I have absolutely zero regrets about that. Where did we stay? So in Cape Town, we stayed in President Hotel, and then we stayed in Johannesburg City Lodge, Stanton Catherine Street. We stayed there the first time we were in Johannesburg and when we came back. And then when we were near like the Kruger National Park area, we stayed at Hotel Numbi and Garden Suites. All of them were great. I have no like regrets on any of them. They were fine. The second game drive. So our tour director set up a second game drive the morning that we were going back to Johannesburg. That ended up being about $50 US per person, but it was based on how many people we had because it was price per vehicle. So if we had 9 people, we all split the price for one vehicle, but since we had more than that, we all split the price for multiple vehicles, and the price changes depending on amount of vehicles, and then you also have to pay for your park fee to like get in and for your local guides, and then you also tip them. It was like $50. Our tour director set it up. It was nice and easy. We did not see as much as we did the first day, but I am still very glad that we went. Did we see the big 5? So on our first game drive morning, again, you can go check out the vlog right here. We saw 4 out of 5 on the first day, and then we saw the rhino, which was the only one that we were missing. When we were headed back to Johannesburg at like a rest stop for food, someone had like animals there, so we technically saw one in Africa that was like kind of like looked like a zoo or something, but we saw 4 out of the 5 in the actual park. Can you drop your photographer's info? Yes, I can. So we get our photos taken by local photographers every time that we travel. We love it. These photos that we got were absolutely beautiful. They're some of my favorite. She was so affordable compared to what we usually pay for. This is her Instagram. Loved those photos. 10 out of 10 recommend, and she was great to work with. I would suggest if you're a big souvenir person going while you were in Cape Town, there's some stuff down by the waterfront, not in the big mall, but like outside. Get your souvenirs then because there aren't many options later. Apparently there's a really good shop that you stop at going back from like Kruger region to Johannesburg, but that was closed when we went, so don't depend on that, because once you're back in Johannesburg, there's not like a ton of souvenir shops. The itinerary for this trip can change based on weather, so just because it says like, oh, you're doing Table Mountain this day, you might not. That's why you're in Cape Town for so many days, so that it can be like moved around and flexible, because if you have like a cloudy or super windy day, Table Mountain closes and they won't let you go up. So you have to be flexible. Don't like 100% plan something and be like, oh, I have to do it this day, because a lot of things can be changed for the weather, just like Robben Island. I personally really liked this trip because it was a good mix of everything. Like if we would have done like a Kenya trip, it was basically all safari stuff. I didn't want that. 2 game drives were enough for me. It wasn't like we were in the city the whole time, but we had city vibes, we had beach vibes, we had mountain vibes. It was just like totally amazing. We had like a little bit of everything, and I absolutely loved that. I did pack a swimsuit. I did not use the swimsuit. The hotels had pools at them. I personally just did not get in them. It was a little chilly for me. And then you can also use your swimsuit when you go to like see the penguins. You can swim in the water with them if you want. A good chunk of our group did. I did not want to, so I climbed over the rocks to like get to the penguins, which is the only other option. Again, I have a whole vlog about that, so if you want to see what I'm talking about, go watch it. I brought a type N, as in Noah, outlet to charge like all of my stuff. I do not recommend that. I recommend the type M, as in Mary, outlets, because those were the ones that our hotel had. There are all sorts of different options for South Africa, but those specific hotels, it was better to have the M outlets instead of the N outlets. I would say get cash before you leave for tips. I already talked about that, but pretty much everywhere else takes card. And some of like, we went to like a food mart, kind of like a food hall in Cape Town, and everywhere in there only took card. Vaccinations. Everyone wants to know about vaccinations. So I personally went like requested to get on a specific type of malaria medication, because I wanted to be on something that once I'm off of, I don't have to wait super long to start trying to get pregnant. That is not the case for everyone, so talk to your doctor about malaria pills if you want them, if you need them. I personally took them. David took them. A lot of the people in our group took them. Some people didn't. I did not get yellow fever. I already had like tetanus, and then I think we got typhoid, and then Hep A or B or something. I don't know. We just made a doctor's appointment with our regular like primary care doctors, and they told us everything that we needed. You can also look on Passport Health's website. They have destination specific recommendations for things, and then if you have one of those close, you can go there. If not, you can just like print that list and take it to your doctor and be like, this is what I need. But again, what works for me might not work for you, so you want to do your research on that. All right, and now we are to how much money we spent. From everything for like when we were in the airport in Paris, we bought a magnet because our last magnet from Paris broke. That's included any food we got at the airport, food we got just like wandering around while we were exploring, buying a water bottle, if we had to pay to go to a bathroom anywhere, anything like that. I wrote it down in this expense sheet for how much we paid. Bug spray, everything like that. Bug spray, just wait and buy it there. Don't bring it with you. Total on this trip, between my husband and I, we spent $843.73. That's in US dollars. I'm just gonna give US dollars. I have it all written in South African rand, but I converted it so that you don't have to. If you divide that by 2 for each of us, it means we each spent $421.87 per person. This includes all tips for tour directors, random guides, everything like that, plus paying for our session for photos. So if you're not doing like photos or anything big like that, you don't have to worry about having that much. But basically per person per day for this 11-day trip boils down to $38.35 per person per day. So hopefully that helps you with planning and budgeting, but that is all I have to say. I think this trip was absolutely amazing. It's absolutely 100% one of my favorites now. I would recommend it over others just because of the length and price. I think it's a little more affordable than going to like Australia and New Zealand. I think when we did that one, we went over New Year's and then we paid extra for the room upgrade so that we could stay in the same room together, and I think that trip ended up being like $8,000 per person, which is crazy. So I think this, like, I love the experience. It was amazing. I would recommend this over that, just in my opinion. But I have like some people, like I just got back from the Patagonia trip, some people were like, oh, that's my absolute favorite trip in the whole world. It just wasn't mine. So everyone's a little different. Go somewhere that you want to go to see what you want to see and then have a good time. But that is it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed. If you are interested in booking a trip with EF Ultimate Break, be sure to use my link down below. It'll get you $100 off your first trip with them. It can be this South Africa trip or it can be any of the trips. If you have any more specific questions, just leave them down below. I'll do my best to answer them for you, and I hope this helps. That is it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!